An application to remove a 39-inch DBH live oak has been submitted by Sunbelt Tree Service on behalf of Fred Tibbs and Donnie Rex, building contractors and future owners of the property located at 151 West Rockwood. Or you can ask you, has that closed yet?
No, it's not closed yet.
Okay. The removal application has been acknowledged and signed by the current owner, Ms. Jeanette Linders. The subject tree has been determined to fall within the historic tree classification due to its size, age, structure, and age potential. By virtue of the fact that it's a tree that could live for another 100 years or more, determined to be a historic type tree. Mr. Tibbs and Mr. Rex are proposing to construct a new home on the 17,723 square foot lot, resulting in a total impervious area of 6,555 square feet. The proposed site plan that's been submitted conforms to the setback requirements as established by the building department, and the oak falls squarely in the middle of the house. While the applicant applied to remove only one tree, an inspection of the property revealed that two trees are in severe decline, and the third, that if pruned, will to allow access to the driveway may result in a loss of more than 50% of the canopy of that tree. So those were added to the tree permit. The growth habit of the tree in question is such that the house could not be moved a sufficient distance forward, back, or sideways to retain the tree. It just, most of the tree leans towards the south, which is where the house, most of the house is going to be. And in fact, everything was, the observation was made that you couldn't even build a similar single-story house on that lot and meet code the building requirements due to the height. And so the tree, even if you were going to replace what was there, the tree would still have to come out, unfortunately. As a historic tree, the compensation requirement becomes 3 inches of replacement to 1 inch removed. It's required by code. The replanting requirement of one 4.5-inch minimum caliber shade tree and compensation of $110 per inch that's not replanted. And assuming that the minimum 4.5-inch tree was replanted, it leaves a balance of 112.5 inches and a balance due of $12,375 for removal of the tree. Staff has no specific recommendations, but would like to make the observation that removal of trees from private property places a responsibility for replenishing the canopy loss upon the city. Establishing a tree of this caliber requires a great amount of time, care, and expense. So in your deliberations, I would ask that you bear that in mind. And that pretty much is our presentation. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
I have a question. You said there were 2 other trees that have to be added to this?
Actually, there's a total of 3. And actually, one of them
You
is up
have
to the.
highlighted in this.
Well, Mr. Rex wasn't necessarily aware that I had put them on this permit, removal permit. But if you're looking at from West Rockwood Way, from the street, there's 2 trees to the left of the driveway.
Mm-hmm.
One's a 24-inch oak, the other's a 36-inch oak. The 24 inch is a live oak. And the growth, I don't know, have you all been out to the property?
Yeah. Has everybody been there?
This is on Rockwood, west of Winter Park Road.
Yes.
I walk by there frequently.
I have. This is the tree in question. I don't know if you all got that.
That's a huge tree.
Yes, it is.
It's gorgeous. It's physically it's in good shape. Structurally it's in good shape. The health is good.
And it's
The-
currently sits behind the structure that's there?
Right. It's in the backyard and leans. What's that? Towards the south over the house.
Leans over the south, lean towards the south over the house,
Yeah.
of the existing house.
So the plan is to demolish the existing house, I assume.
Yes,
I assume that oak doesn't show up on this site plan.
right there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the other two trees that you were asking about, Christine, are those two, the 124-inch live oak hangs so low over the existing driveway and where the driveway is going to be, that if they cut those branches off, there'll be nothing left. So I added that with the permit. The 36-inch oak that you see there is in really tough shape. It's just, it needs to come out before it falls down. And then there is a third live oak that appears towards the back of the house, the left-hand corner, that has nearly no leaves left on it. So it's, that was added as well. In fact, I didn't realize that fell within the floor plan.
I didn't either until you just said it.
Okay. Yeah, as you can see, there's a number of live oaks. These are all live oaks that are in the backyard here. There's a number of large live oaks left there that should provide a lot of canopy coverage to this particular site.
There's a lot of trees on the lot.
Yes. Anybody else?
Well, my comment would be that this property as it is now is essentially dump. And anything that would be done would be a significant improvement to the neighborhood. The tree by the driveway, I wasn't impressed with. The big tree in the back is certainly a nice tree. And is there a need to plant more trees on that lot?
There is a requirement to plant at least 1 4.5-inch minimum caliber shade tree.
Okay.
As per the code.
But that's what he's appealing, right?
No, I'm not appealing that planted tree.
Oh, okay.
He's appealing $12,000
Oh,
of
okay.
compensation.
But the other trees that are in there, granted they need to be cut down, but they weren't mentioned in the permit.
No, they were not in the original permit, no.
They're just exempt?
No, they're not exempt, but there's no replanting requirement. I didn't, because of the existing canopy that's there, I determined he didn't really need to replant the other 3 trees.
Okay.
Does he have a place to plant the 4.5 inch?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Can can I speak? If you-
Sure.
Okay, I'm Donnie Rex. I've been building this community for well over 30 years. This is the first time I ever had to, well, I might have had to fill out 2 or 3 tree removal applications in those 30 years. And probably my average house I've planted, I've built since, I can't go back 30 years because my records don't go back that, but I can go back to 1990. I've built over 100 houses in Winter Park since 1990. And in the majority of those houses, I've planted 5 or more specimen oak trees or magnolia trees, or a combination of both. Over here at Hamilton Place, when we built 5 houses in there, when we came in there, the developer put all these little puny trees on the right of way. We took every one of them out ourselves, replanted them ourselves, bigger trees. All the common areas, we came back in and planted trees in there in the area. So we've been, we're tree advocates. We don't like taking trees out. And this is the first case I've ever had to take this big oak tree out.
Yeah, I work next door to Hamilton, so those are, other than the fact that it's against the railroad tracks, which I'd never buy.
I didn't build any of those against railroad tracks. On the other side.
It's a very nice looking
Yeah.
neighborhood.
But we took every tree. I'm just appealing because the money part of this, I mean, number one, when you take that tree out, there's so much canopy still in the backyard, and a lot of that canopy needs to be cleaned out because it's in decline because of the lack of sun getting back in there. I don't know if you walked in the backyard or not, but
Yeah, I didn't find the backyard attractive at all.
it needs to be cleaned up a little bit. I like those staghorn ferns. there's 4 nice ones back there. But, we've always been really good about our landscaping, and the house we just completed, last spring on Sterling. If you look at there, we didn't have to take any oak trees out there except that dead one that was, sticking in the center, and we replaced, 5 trees, 4 oak trees and 1 big magnolia tree, all of substantial trees. So, it doesn't help us taking trees down, other than, in this case, you couldn't build that, you couldn't even build that structure, the same structure.
Yeah. Question, this, this remuneration is based on the current, laws. What would it be on the ones that we have proposed?
You would only need to replant 2 4.5-inch trees.
Is there any, money involved?
Not if he replants what's required. If he chose not to replant, he would have to pay the compensation for inch. Or if he planted 1 tree and pay for half of the total diameter.
Refresh my memory, what was the criteria for designating a historic tree that required 3 times?
Well, first time you've asked me to review the code.
I usually bring my code, right?
I usually do too, I didn't do it today.
It's
It starts at 36 inches.
Okay,
You know,
so-
beyond that, it's the historic consideration.
So basically, since this one exceeds 36 inches, that makes it fall in historic tree.
And that's part of the criteria.
Yeah.
So we want to get the code.
Well, it is historic. How old is that tree?
Well, age, I don't think is a criteria, is it?
No, but I'm, you know.
I consider age as a
Is it?
criteria,
Can you-
because, you know, a 36-inch laurel oak is likely on its way out, so I don't consider that necessarily a historic tree, unless it's in exceptional shape.
Right.
But, and so age does play into it, but I would estimate, and it's hard to know, just all how old. Some of them grow really quick, if they really like where they are, and some of them are very, live oaks are very slow growers typically. That tree is, I would say, at least in excess of 75. Maybe much older than that.
So it was there when they built the house. It's there now.
That would expect. I would expect they were really excited to build that house under the shade of that tree.
The question is, how much age is left in it?
Well, live oaks, typically they can get from 250 to 400 or some other, much older.
So there's a lot of life left in
A
it.
lot of life left in the tree.
It's a great tree, there's no question about that.
And it contributes a lot to the canopy.
You got a tremendous commitment, and I took an aerial view from, thank God for Google. But if you look at the second page, that tree where the orange, where the 151 is, that canopy right about right there. Which I don't have. But it's just that one section. All that is canopy back in the back. And from about halfway, from where the house is, that front half of it, sticking back, you got the same picture.
Yeah.
Going back, it's nothing but tree canopy.
Due to other trees?
Pardon me?
You mean, it's nothing but tree canopy due to other
Uh-huh,
trees that are
yeah,
there?
yeah.
There's a lot of trees.
And there there's 7 trees that are 25 inch in caliber or larger on the lot.
So if you take out the other trees, there's the 2 in the front, or one, you're taking out 1 in the front, and trimming the other one, is that it?
I can trim, I can get by without doing anything to that one tree. Well, I'm saying, the big limb that comes across the front, is off that big laurel oak. And it goes across almost the front of the whole piece of property, and that thing's about to come down. In fact, I don't know if we could take it down. It's in the right of way, and power lines all around it.
What I'm getting at is you do that, and you take the other one that's about dead, right?
Yeah.
To get out, and when they're one in the back, you're gonna take out two, kind of,
Right, there's one towards the back left corner.
That was the one that we're taking out, that he suggested we take out, because it's just basically a straight sprig up. I don't even think there's a limb coming off of it.
Not, well, it's got limbs, but it's
Not much.
not much for canopies.
or you do all of that, plus take the big one down, how much does that reduce canopy percentage?
It probably, wow, this is shooting from the hip, but it probably reduces the canopy by 35%
On that piece of
on
property?
that piece of property.
It's that much, but.
Since the way that tree leans, I think it probably is, but that's hardly scientific.
Because if you'll look at this picture right here, you can see that you do have one branch that goes up, but most of it sticks over the house, which, again, looking back at the aerial down on it, is this section right here, which is over that back portion of the house. So the majority of that just sticks over the house, and it goes straight up from there, so that this canopy behind the house is pretty thick and consistent.
But what Mr. Hitchcock was saying was if you take the other trees and that, so you're gonna be losing a portion of that. That. And
Well, I mean,
probably a little
if
bit.
you'll let me take that big oak tree out, I can trim the limbs up on the two front oaks and leave those, and just take that one, other one that's out of spring. So all I'm essentially doing is, I have the right to take 20% of the tree off, right?
Yeah,
to clean it up.
Take up to 20.
So in both those cases, I would only be taking 20% of those two trees out front. And in that back tree, like I said, there's little or no.
I see you did design the driveway to skirt around the 24-inch oak. I'm worried that the limbs, the way they're so low, that you don't have.
But I can take that 20% off that one side of it.
Yeah, that one limb that goes parallel, that's a,
The biggest one
That's
the
a
biggest one
worthless
that comes down is off that goes parallel. In fact, I didn't realize it when coming from that smaller live oak at first. Alan sat there, pointed that out to me. I would have to take that limb off there.
Yeah, it actually comes out of the laurel oak,
Mhm.
it's further to the west.
well, I think, it's obvious that the big tree has to go. We just have to decide what kind
What
of,
the compensation is.
what the compensation is.
Right, that's what we ought
Like Tony asked, I know that the city commission has not adopted our proposals to revise the tree code, but based upon what this committee at least approved a couple of months ago on those changes, I think you said that under that revised code, to remove this tree would require to plant 2 replacement trees.
2.5-inch caliper trees.
Is there room for that, for 2 trees on this property?
Absolutely.
Yes, there is.
So if we adopted the proposed code, notwithstanding the fact that it hadn't been approved yet by the city commission, and approved this with a two tree replacement requirement, we'd be consistent with at least with the amendments to the code that we
Should they be adopted?
yes. Or we could waive the, as we're currently situated, we could waive the fee, but require 2 trees if that was the pleasure of the committee.
Yes.
Is that correct? Okay. Well, that would be my motion.
You want to
And I
make
second
that
to.
motion?
Was that a motion?
Yes.
Say it again, so I,
Basically consistent with the proposed changes to the code that we approved 2 months ago, although I realize they're not applicable yet. I would do that, on this application, we waive the compensation requirement and require replacement of 2, what's the size? 4.5-inch caliper trees as a requirement in lieu of the financial payment.
have we got a second?
I second that motion.
Good. Any further discussion? I went to the
All in favor?
Well, I was gonna say, I went to the review of the proposed amendment, proposed ordinance change, and there was really only one person that dramatically opposed our thing. Everybody else was worried about the dead trees and the
right-of-way trees.
the taking care of the trees in the right of way and all that sort of stuff. So I don't know what George's perception of what he needs to do now, but it seems to me that ought to just go back to city commission.
Actually, that's what he's preparing it to go to the next.
Oh, okay,
city
yeah, well,
commission.
that's.
Do we know when?
I will find out for sure the date, and I'll send it to you guys in email.
Okay, I'm glad you were at that meeting.
Yeah, well, I was
I got a
there.
notice of it
Phil
at
was
5
there.
o'clock that night.
So anyway, we have a motion, second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Done.
Thank you all very much.
Okay.
Y'all have a good day.
Thank you.
One of your members called, and he apologized, Peter Weldon called.
Okay.
He apologized for not making it. His calendar dates didn't come out or something.
Okay.
Okay.